Racism is on the rise in a country that partnered with the Nazis.
They're inciting hatred. They're poisoning the population.
Plus, sidelined by a bone spur.
I can't sit this way.
Hear how this grandma made it home for Christmas.
He knows what we want, even before we ask.
Also, Southern Living's Kimberly Whitman shares how to get your home ready for the holidays on today's 700 Club.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the 700 Club. I hope everybody's ready for Christmas. Is there something to get ready for?
Well, you know, I'm sort of on my way there, but I've kind of decided that just enjoying the season and the reason is what it's all about.
Season and reason, and that's the answer. And I'm hoping to get away and do a little praying. But
yes,
I suppose we all ought to pray. We've got a government. Apparently, Congress is broken. The budget compromise is facing an uphill battle in the Senate. Senate Democrats used the nuclear option to blow up any remaining traces of bipartisan spirit in that august body.
Well, while some say that this deal is a first step toward finding common ground, others say it shows there really is none. Gary Lane reports.
Members of the Republican-controlled House gave overwhelming approval to the budget plan.
Our job is to find enough common ground to move the ball down the field on behalf of the American people who sent us here to do their work.
But supporters of the deal may need a Hail Mary pass to win in the U.S. Senate. Tea Party members oppose the agreement because it does little to address the issues of entitlements and out-of-control spending. The nation's debt now stands at more than $17 trillion. And there's the increasingly ugly atmosphere in the Senate. Senate Democrats recently invoked the so-called nuclear option, changing Senate rules to prevent Republican filibusters of President Obama's judicial nominees. Even some Democrats say the nuclear option has poisoned the atmosphere in the higher chamber and created a somewhat dysfunctional, uncooperative Senate. Meanwhile, former Republican Senator Alan Simpson warned Congress still needs to tackle the bigger problems, calling the budget deal a sparrow belch in the midst of a typhoon. Bob Bixby of the Bipartisan Concord Coalition said the president calls it a good first step, but to what? One of the main architects of the proposed budget, House Republican Paul Ryan, said Congress will be asked to revise the tax code next year. Appearing on Meet the Press Sunday, Ryan defended the deal.
And I know what I think is the right thing to do. Getting a budget agreement that reduces the deficit without raising taxes and prevents two government shutdowns from occurring in 2014, in my opinion, is the right thing to do.
Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid says he'd like to see a vote within the next several days. That way, members of the U.S. Senate can be home for Christmas. But Bixby says if it passes, few Americans will get excited. It's a little bit like a child bringing home a D on a report card, he says, instead of an F. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Thanks, Gary. This Obama thing is going to get worse and worse, apparently. We haven't begun to see your health insurance is going to maybe double or triple. The availability of doctors is going to shrink dramatically. The whole concept of health care is going to be destroyed in America. The unintended consequences of this monstrous piece of legislation, the president hadn't read it, the congressmen haven't read it, hardly anybody has read the dumb thing, and they all passed it because that was what the socialists or the progressives wanted. And they've inflicted this thing on Americans. It's just insane. It is just going to cause more pain than you could imagine. Have you heard stories about people who are suffering?
Well, I think they're on the news every day.
Yeah.
And then all of this at the same time that the baby boomers are coming into retirement years and health needs.
Terrible.
It's just crazy.
Well, I mean, but the whole idea is that the younger people are going to have to pay maybe double of what they normally would pay. They've got to pay for maternity welfare. They've got to pay for, prosthetic devices for the elderly and stuff like that. And they've got to have insurance on that, and they don't want it. Yeah. And so they're not going to sign up. They'd rather take a penalty. And this is going to be a hit. A lot of people aren't going to be hiring. The amount of unemployment is going to go up. This is a monster. And it's going to hurt every one of us. And so, I don't know what to say. You're speechless when you think of anything as monsters as this. being jammed through the Congress, and it didn't have any bipartisan support. Not one Republican voted for this thing. Well, Americans are getting more and more worried about the impact from that Obamacare, as I've said, and John Jessup has more details.
Well, Pat, as you said, Americans are concerned that Obamacare will drive up their health care costs across the board. A new AP GFK poll shows workers who already have health insurance blame President Obama's health care law for their rising premiums and deductibles. 69% say their annual premiums are increasing, and about 4 out of 5 of those polled say it's because of the president's law. Well, a federal judge has struck down key parts of Utah's polygamy laws, saying they are unconstitutional. The restrictions were challenged by the polygamous family of the TLC show Sister Wives. The judge cited freedom of religion in his decision. He says a provision in Utah law forbidding cohabitation with another person violates the First Amendment. While the ruling does not legalize multiple marriages, it does mean polygamous families who live together cannot be prosecuted. Pat?
I said it a long time ago. There were people in the Congress who said it a long time ago. It has come to pass, exactly what we said. Supreme Court ruling that homosexuality, for example, laws against them are unconstitutional. The next thing we said would be laws against polygamy would be unconstitutional. And this is the first step. And I don't know whether they call it polyamory and these other, they've got all kinds of names for these relationships, but whatever it is, it's going to be Katie bar the door, anything. And I think multiple marriages, how can you have a law forbidding a couple, they say, well, they love each other. They want to have more wives, and they love all these women. And how can you keep them from doing it? If you say 2 men that love each other can get married, then why can't a man that loves 5 women get married to all of them? Why? What's the rationale? Well, there is none, and therefore, what you're going to find is that these laws are going to fall one after the other, and we will have polygamy in America that legalized. John?
Pat, federal prosecutors are heading to a grand jury this week with a case of a homegrown jihadist who plotted to blow up an airport in Kansas. 58-year-old Terry Lee Lowen is accused of planning to bomb Wichita's mid-continent airport, rather. He was an avionics technician there. Agents say he spent months planning the attack, studying the airport layout and flight schedules. Lowen allegedly planned a suicide car bombing. He reportedly was radicalized after reading Islamic extremist material on the internet.
We've seen this time and time again. Since 2009 in particular, dozens of arrests on American soil of usually young American Muslims. Big problem. We see plot after plot. Look, we've had great law enforcement work, Wendy, and a lot of luck, quite frankly. Think back to the Times Square bombing in May 2010. The bomb didn't go off. Underwear bomber, Christmas 2009, the bomb didn't go off. So some luck there as well, but a very persistent threat. And by the way, this suspect in this Wichita plot was an employee of the airport, Wendy. He had a security card which granted him access to sensitive areas. This is a jihadist dream to have that kind of access.
Lowen now faces multiple charges, including trying to provide material support to a foreign terrorist group. Well, the Mideast is still recovering today from a huge winter storm that blanketed much of the region with snow. As Chris Mitchell reports, the rare storm brought danger to some, but blessings to others.
The worst blizzard to hit the region in more than 50 years dumped nearly 20 inches of snow on Jerusalem over 3 days.
It's unbelievable. It's nice. We have drought. We need water. See? So it's very important to have snow and have water.
The historic storm stranded thousands of motorists on their way to Jerusalem. More than 35,000 Israeli homes were without power, some for days. But for many Jerusalemites, they were days of fun without work or school.
I guess I never really thought I'd ever have a snowball fight in the old city, but there you go.
Because it's fun and you miss school and everything. You can make snowmans and igloos.
Monday was the 4th day that schools were closed in Jerusalem and elsewhere in Israel as lingering snow turned to ice on highways. Piles of snow and downed trees were everywhere. When it snows in Jerusalem, it's usually gone within a day or two. But these cars on one of the city's side streets have been abandoned and stranded for nearly 5 days. In Gaza, thousands of residents were evacuated from their homes due to flooding. Probably the hardest hit were some of the more than 2 million Syrian refugees in Lebanon, Jordan, and elsewhere, many of them living in tents. In Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, thanks to security and rescue forces, many lives had been saved.
The state of Israel is coping very well with the great storm. I believe that we perform better than advanced countries that are hit more frequently by such storms, and we see the results.
Despite the dangers, many enjoyed the wonder of seeing the city of Jerusalem shrouded from what the Bible calls the treasuries of snow. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Volunteers placed more than 500,000 wreaths on the graves of America's war veterans this weekend. The event is carried out by a group called Wreaths Across America. At Arlington Cemetery alone, about 25,000 volunteers, friends, and family members placed remembrance wreaths on the headstones of more than 143,000 veterans.
I think the enormity of this place is a very humbling experience.
Just how much that he's missed and how much he's done for us and just how much he's loved.
It really is a sign of respect.
This is the 22nd year the group has decorated cemeteries across the country and marks the largest number ever delivered. Well, new rumors about the anonymous diner who has been leaving generous tips at restaurants across the country. Some reports say it's a former executive at PayPal, but that's unconfirmed. What we do know is that every tip is signed with a simple phrase, "Tips for Jesus." Lori Johnson has that story.
According to the mystery man's Instagram account, he's, quote, doing the Lord's work one tip at a time. One of his latest stops, Moondog's Bar in Port Orchard, Washington.
It's very unique, it's like a lightning strike.
The staff of Moondog says a stranger at the end of the bar rang up a $576 check after buying everyone around. Then he left a $5,000 tip.
Are you sure this is what you want to do? And the guy goes, absolutely, I've made a ton of money in my life. This is my way of giving back.
The tip was divided up among all the staff, each person getting $500.
Well, I have 2 little girls, so they're going to get a good Christmas this year.
This isn't the first time the mystery tipper has struck. He also left a $500 tip on a $25 check in Hollywood, California. He also left a $3,000 tip on a $90 check in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And the list goes on. Some regular customers of Moondog's say those at the restaurant deserve it. Every year they give away free holiday meals to people in need.
This last Thanksgiving we gave 330 meals out.
No one knows who the mystery tipper is or where he'll go next, but it's sure to show up on his Instagram account, Tips for Jesus. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Well, that's certainly one way to spread the Christmas cheer. Pat, should we inquire about your recent travels and whereabouts?
I'm not sure if we should or not.
We are mum.
We're mum, totally mum. All right.
Well, coming up, a rise of anti-Semitism in the country whose Jews were shot and pushed into the Danube during World War II. The growing threat of the third largest political party in Hungary is next.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the Spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
Tuesday, he's known as the Happy Pastor. Joel Osteen breaks out a page from his new bestseller. Plus, from a home on the prairie in South Dakota to the House of Reps in Washington, D.C.
We had our family operation
almost destroyed because of bad tax policy.
David Brody goes on the farm with Tea Party star Kristi Noem.
Maybe my biggest job was going to be to minister to individuals.
On the 700 Club.
Well, you'd think it would be the end of this thing, but it just doesn't seem to go away. There's something that's driving this always. 70 years after the Holocaust, anti-Semitism is still lurking in Europe, especially in Hungary, where it's so bad that half of all Jews there have thought about fleeing the country. Our Dale Hurd reports from Budapest about the rise of an anti-Semitic political party that could make matters even worse.
A memorial to the Jews of Budapest, who were rounded up during World War II and told to take off their shoes before being shot and pushed into the Danube. Hungary's Jews are fearful again because of a return of anti-Semitism. Hungary has been going backwards economically for years. Old scapegoats have come back to life in a nation that feels like it was flattened by globalization. Foreigners, bankers, and Jews. This is the kind of political ad that tapped straight into the Hungarian psyche.
A bankoknak mindent szabad. Míg dolgozunk, ezek csak lopnak. A politikus bűnözőknek mindent szabad. Már félek kimenni az utcára. A cigány bűnözőknek mindent szabad.
Nincs magyar áru a polcon. A multiknak mindent szabad.
It's an ad for Jobbik, now the third largest party in Hungary, and some say a possible long shot to rule Hungary in a coalition government someday.
Far-right racist parties are fairly common in Eastern Europe, but Jobbik is different. Stronger, better organized, and offering solutions to real problems that Hungarians face.
Even if they're the wrong solutions and the boogeyman is an American-Israeli conspiracy.
You know, there's a joke in Hungary that somebody comes to a village and he says, "Is there anti-Semitism here?" So they say, "No, there isn't, but there's a great need for it." And so
Budapest Rabbi Shlomo Koves says Jews can now feel the anti-Semitism in the streets, although physical attacks on Jews are rare.
I mean, a society is not in a good state when people relatively have a hard time making a living. All these ideas, extreme ideas, can come back.
A Jobbik member of parliament has called for a list to be drawn up of all the Jews in government because he deems them a security threat.
They consider the entire Jewish community as the agents of America and Israel. They say that through the Hungarian Jewish community, Israel and America are turning Hungary into a colony.
Hungarian parliament member Pál Steiner lost half of his relatives in the Holocaust, and now, 70 years later, he receives death threats. But anti-Semitism hasn't returned to Hungary, he says, because it never left.
It's clear that Jobbik's basic principles are very similar to the Nazis, especially considering the so-called Jewish problem. And I need to stress that there is a part of the Hungarian society that has a secret sympathy for Jobbik.
Hungary's World War II leader Miklos Horthy, when Hungary was a Nazi ally. Last month, Horthy returned to a place of honor in Budapest when his bust was unveiled at a church. Opponents demonstrated by wearing yellow stars. It's now become very dangerous for Hungary's gypsies, who are more likely to commit crimes and are hated more than Jews. Jobbik started a militia, the Magyar Garda, but it was outlawed. Jobbik claims it was a service organization, but it looked like Aerocross, a Nazi-era party that killed thousands of Jews. It's an open question as to whether Hungarian society is getting healthier or getting sicker.
Sadly, I have to say sicker because of growing intolerance, because of growing poverty.
We asked one of Hungary's leading political consultants, Viktor Szigetvári, if Jobbik could end up in a governing coalition someday, as some predict, or if they're too radioactive for other parties.
They are radioactive, but it is possible that we might have a minority government created after the 2014 general elections. And in this context, it will be interesting what role Jobbik will play. I believe that it is a no-go area, not in Hungary, not in Europe.
Jobbik turned down our request for an interview, telling us, "We do not want to help you on the issue of anti-Semitism. Jobbik is dealing with much more important problems right now. The sellout of soil to foreigners and to oligarchs close to the government, the corruption scandals, the chaos in education, and the catastrophic state of public safety. Jobbik repeatedly denies that it is anti-Semitic. On its English language website, it seems to disavow some of the very positions its leaders have spouted publicly. Jobbik says it does not deny the Holocaust, but it also does not like Israel. We interviewed one former Jobbik member from a rural area who said he never heard talk of anti-Semitism at Jobbik meetings he attended. But we also interviewed a former Jobbik leader who had to leave the party when he discovered that he was a Jew.
The problem is that there are clever people in Jobbik. It's a two-faced party, what they say among themselves and what they say in front of the public. The other problem is that they are inciting hatred. They're poisoning the population in Hungary.
Steiner and others told us Jobbik should be considered very dangerous. And even if they never rule Hungary, critics say they're a legally elected party, spreading dangerous ideas. But Jobbik seems to be only a symptom in a nation that is still clinging to old-fashioned anti-Semitism. Dale Hurd, CBN News, Budapest.
Thanks, Dale. That's shocking because Hungary was the bright star of the communist satellite countries. And it seemed like after the fall of communism, it was coming through with a market economy and there was all kinds of business and activity. I was in Budapest. It was thriving and bustling and looked like people were coming in from all over the world making business deals there. And I'm very surprised that it's now having any kind of difficulty because, as I say, it looked like the bright star. I don't know what's happening, but I hope it doesn't take hold. It sounds terrible. Terry?
Well, up next, pain threatens to derail a grandmother's travel plans for Christmas. Watch how she receives a supernatural healing just in the nick of time. And then later on, deck your hall's Southern living style. Irresistible Christmas ideas for your home. That's coming up.
Hello, friend. Pat Boone here with good news for baby boomers. Research shows the longer you work, the longer you live. That's right. Just like the good book says, we're called to serve our God for a lifetime and beyond. Truth is, the outdated idea of retirement is fading fast. Healthier lifestyles and medical breakthroughs allow us to live and work longer than ever before. Millions of boomers today need a re-inspirement plan for this new encore stage of life to maximize God-given talents as well as financial strategies that include tangible assets. My trusted friends at Swiss America have just released a free handbook entitled Don't Retire, Get Re-Inspired. It explains how to prepare wisely to hand a better America to our children. Why don't you call now for your free copy? Protect what you worked so hard for in the first half of life as you embark on your new journey into the second half of life.
Cell phones are great, but the amount some companies charge is just crazy.
Since Connie and I switched to Consumer Cellular, we both get everything we want, and we're paying about half what we used to.
Do I have to buy the whole basket?
No.
Hey, you old cheapskate. Hey, Jack. Why pay for more than you need, right?
That's why I keep telling you, Consumer Cellular plans start at just $10 a month.
And I'm finally ready. My contract's up.
Oh, here's to the end of contracts.
Yeah.
Well, did you tell him how easy it is to switch?
Well, of course I told him. It's really easy to switch. Okay.
Consumer Cellular, simple plans with award-winning service and no contract. Start your 30-day risk-free trial today. Activation is free, a $35 value, and we'll ship it free. Or visit a Sears store today. And Consumer Cellular was selected as the exclusive wireless provider for AARP members. Ask about your special discounts.
Call 1-800-460-7238. Go online to consumercellular.com or visit a Sears store today.
To see this week's top on-demand videos, go to cbn.com.
Hey, you're watching the 700 Club. We got some good stuff coming for you. Christmas, almost here. It's a time of miracles. And that's just what the grandmother in our next story needed. You see, she had a severe bone spur that threatened to spoil her holiday, but not for long.
I wanted to go so bad to Seattle. My daughter always puts on a big Christmas dinner and big Christmas celebrations with Christmas Eve. It was probably around Thanksgiving or so I started having this pain. It was like a sharp spur, and it felt like something sticking me in my hip all the time if I tried to sit down. It was like I had to lift and move to keep from just sitting on that one spot, and even to walk it hurt. And I had even given thought that I can't go to Seattle like this because I can't sit this way for 10 hours. Well, I was praying, of course, for a healing, and I claimed Psalms 91. None of these plagues, and to me that was a plague, will come nigh our dwelling. So I just believed God. So when I watched the 700 Club, I was waiting and listening, and then that one day it happened. I had to get up and walk out of the room for a minute, and I come back in, and my husband was standing there praying with him, and I looked, and they were talking right to me. Gordon's just gave a word.
Someone with a right hip condition, and you're walking with a limp now. God's able to take away all the spurs.
I cried, that's me. I ran over and hugged my husband. And from that moment on, I never had any more of that pain in that hip. When I got to Seattle, I was so happy that I made it without any pain and sitting that long. And I had to share with them, each one, that what happened, that God had healed me. He knows what we want, even before we ask. And so I just believe and know that God is there with His love and compassion and grace and mercy, and that He is going to fulfill His promises, and I stand on His promises. And healing is for us today the same as it was when Jesus walked this earth and He touched people and healed them. There's nothing like the power of prayer. Nothing anywhere. Believe, trust, put your faith in God, and He'll take care of you. He'll meet every need.
What a radiant testimony of the power of God.
Encouraging, isn't it? I hope it's encouraging to those of you who are watching with us today.
Well, we're going to pray in a minute,
able.
but there are a few prayer requests that have come in. What do you have?
Well, I have someone asking for salvation for family members, then someone else saying healing of heart issues is needed, and someone who has a daughter in the Air Force praying for protection for her.
Well, we have some of these that have come to us. And by the way, we have those on the Christmas tree. You have these. These are ornaments, and you send in these to us. And my family is grieving over the loss of our mom. Imagine.
Yeah.
And the healing of malignant thyroid gland. And somebody said, I want peace. I just need peace. All right. We're going to join. Terry and I are going to pray. And I want you to pray with us. And just before Christmas, what a wonderful time for Jesus to do something. I was reading today about a man who was born blind. And he came to Jesus, and Jesus made a little bit of clay out of some dust, and He put it on the man's eyes. And he went away. He said, go wash in the pool of Siloam. And he did it, and his eyes were healed. He'd been born blind because Jesus is the power and the Son of God. Now we're going to join. I want you to join with us. Now, what's your need? You say, oh, that's too big for God. No, it isn't. There's nothing too hard for Him, nothing too big for Him, nothing too small for Him to be concerned about. He loves you. Lord, I join with my dear sister. In the name of Jesus, we believe God right now for miracles. Somebody has congested, your throat is contracting, and you've got kind of like a big ball of phlegm. You don't seem to get it up. And God has just opened that thing up. You can cough up what's there, and from now on you can breathe and swallow freely in Jesus' name. Terry, what do you have?
Someone else, I don't know if this is the same person or not, but you have serious sinus problems. They really are exacerbated at this time of the year, but it's chronic for you, and God is healing that condition for you completely.
There's a muscle weakness. I don't think it's Parkinson's, but it acts sort of like that, or MS. But you whatever that weakness is, God has just set you free. You'll feel a surge of strength flowing through your body right now. Now, Lord, for people who are suffering, people who are hungry, people who are out of work, people who are despairing, may the hope and the blessing of God Almighty come into their lives at this moment. In Jesus' name, receive an answer. Amen.
Amen.
And amen. Call and tell us what God has done for you. We love to hear. If you want further prayer, that line is toll-free. It's available 24 hours a day. And we have overflow lines in case they're busy. So please call.
Well, you were just showing these pretty ornaments, and our set is decorated so beautifully here for the holiday. Well, still ahead for you from the pages of Southern Living magazine. Easy Christmas decorating, cooking, and gift-giving ideas. You're going to love it all. That's later on today's 700 Club.
It felt like nothing at first, but then it started getting worse and worse. In like a week, it started to hurt.
I saw pretty bad infection, so I kind of got upset and really scared.
She thought if I wouldn't do something about it, it would eat my toe off, literally.
I record the 700 Club every day, so I was watching it, and I heard Terry say,
there's someone, a parent, you're praying for a child named Timothy. God has heard your prayer, and the thing you've asked for will be done.
And it was just such a personal word of knowledge. I just got really emotional.
I thought that it would get healed in a couple of days, and I was really happy. But it turned out it got healed in a couple of hours, actually.
I did see a change right away.
I felt really good because I could run with Mom on the jogging trails, and I could do all the stuff that I wanted to do before.
This holiday season, go on an adventure with Superbook.
Yes! Excellent!
Journey back in time.
Where are we?
With the award-winning animated CBN series, Superbook.
How cool is that?
December 24th to the 27th on ABC Family.
This is amazing!
It's Superbook.
Whoa!
An amazing Bible-based adventure.
Did you see that?
December 24th to the 27th at 9:30 a.m. on ABC Family.
If I can talk to anyone as much as I want to here, namaste. Más soledad. Then why am I limited when I make international calls?
Qué pena.
Exactamente, amiga. That's why we'll connect the world with one low rate for unlimited calls.
So I can call China as much as I want?
True that.
And India?
Ah!
And I can call my girlfriend in Brazil.
Claro! Over 60 countries. People thought we were crazy to give you unlimited long distance.
Crazy generous!
Feel free to talk at Vonage.com.
Welcome back to Washington for this CBN News break. The Colorado teen who shot and critically injured a classmate Friday is being described as an opinionated socialist. That's what fellow students told the Denver Post. The Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office says 18-year-old Carl Pearson apparently wanted to settle a score with his high school debate coach. He shot 2 students before killing himself last Friday. Hundreds of kids and their parents attended a CBN children's event at a major theater in Thailand. It was the Thai premiere of Superbook in Chiang Mai. The episode, The First Christmas, was screened twice to an audience totaling about 800 people. The story presents the real meaning of Christmas and also emphasizes the Christian value of giving to others, as God has given so much to us. Children were also given gifts of cutout and color nativity sets and a gospel cartoon booklet. Well, you can find out more about what CBN is doing around the world by logging on to cbn.com/international. Pat and Terry will be back right after this.
This season, experience the true meaning of Christmas with Christmas Radio on cbn.com. Christmas, a time for being home with the ones you love. A special time to help others. A time to celebrate the best gift of all, Jesus Christ. Cherish this holiday season with the ones you love. Experience Christmas radio on CBN.com.
Look at this amazing before and after. See why every year Lifestyle Lift wins. Over 6 million individuals just like you have already called. These people are real. The photos untouched. Will you imagine what a Lifestyle Lift will do for you? Learn how easy it is today. Like the millions before you, call for your free gift pack because we are the nation's #1 choice for people like you who want to look and feel younger. Their stories began like yours with an easy free phone call because like you, they cared about not looking old anymore. They look amazing, youthful, and energetic. Join countless others like you. Call today because we have a special gift just for you. Our free gift pack filled with invaluable information.
Call 1-800-351-7250. Now, no credit card needed. And when you call today, you'll receive your gift pack fast because as a free bonus, we'll expedite it. And you'll get a coupon for your facial analysis. See your new look, a $300 value free. So call 1-800-351-7250.
Tuesday, he's known as the Happy Pastor. Joel Osteen breaks out a page from his new bestseller. Plus, from a home on the prairie in South Dakota to the House of Reps in Washington, D.C.
We had our family operation almost destroyed because of bad tax policy.
David Brody goes on the farm with Tea Party star Kristi Noem.
Maybe my biggest job was going to be to minister to individuals.
On the 700 Club.
If you're like me, you want your home to look beautiful for the holidays, whether you're entertaining friends or just celebrating with family. And you need decorating and baking ideas that are quick and easy. So, voila!
Kimberly Whitman is the editor-at-large for Southern Living magazine. And she says it's easier than you might think to create special memories this holiday season for your family they will remember for years to come. Kimberly's known for her creative entertaining tips and elegant style. And those ideas are featured in the pages of Southern Living each year. This holiday season, she will show you how to dazzle your family and friends with festive decorating ideas and delectable desserts.
Please welcome back to the 700 Club, Kimberly Whitman. Merry Christmas. It's so good to have you back.
I'm thrilled to be back.
You come with beauty.
Oh, I like to do that.
This is so wonderful. Now, you just, I understand, had a baby, 4 months ago?
Yes, a little girl.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Are you telling me, though, that as a new, busy mom, that it's still possible to turn out something like this?
Well, sure. Absolutely. This is something that I think anyone can do, just a tiny bit of time and a little bit of imagination.
It's beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
How did you make all of this happen?
Well, I wanted to use things that people might already have in their home. So there's no reason to run around and get a new tartan tablecloth for Christmas or something. This is just a white cloth, and I took red ribbon, 3 inches wide, and I crisscrossed it across the table to give it kind of a peppermint look. I wanted it to kind of be inspired by my favorite peppermint candies that are always around this time of year. For the centerpiece, I'm going to show you a little later how to make it, but it's a very simple combination.
I love that.
Thank you, of roses and peppermints, and I wanted to keep it low so that the conversation could be carried across the table.
Very
it is important. And I also think this time of year at Southern Living, we really believe in pulling out your best china, right?
I'm with you, yes.
You should use it all the time, but especially this time of year.
And the chargers make such a difference on a table, don't they, when they really add that finished touch?
Well, that way it frames the plate. If you don't have fancy china, you could use a white plate if you have a plain white plate if you have a red charger. And those red chargers are great because you can use them on a lot of holidays. You could have a Valentine's dinner for you and your husband, or 4th of July you might use them again. So red is a great color to have if you like to entertain.
And then what you've done with the chairs is fairly simple.
Yes, it's just a cloth. We've sewn the edges and put it over the chairs that are silver because I wanted that pop of color to continue and contrast against the white cloth. So
beautiful.
It makes it a little bit dramatic. And I also made these little easels, candy cane easels for the place cards. And I'm going to show you a little bit later how to make those too. It's very easy. Even the kids can get in on the fun with that one.
And that's a fun thing to do, to get the family involved in the whole festive look of your household. Let's move over to here because you have brought some amazing desserts, and who doesn't like to have a beautiful table?
It's true.
So talk about what you have here.
I like to have the dessert set up on a separate table. I think after a big meal, celebratory meal, like a Christmas meal, maybe you need a little bit of time.
Yes.
Or maybe you don't. Maybe you are one of those people who likes to jump straight into the desserts. So if you set it up on a separate table, a buffet, then everyone can go at their leisure and have their dessert.
I like that.
I need time in between. I need to kind of,
I do too.
relax a little bit before I move to the dessert. So we have some beautiful desserts here. The first one is an island red velvet cake. They all come from our new No Taste Like Home book. And there's wonderful stories about each of the recipes. This was Wayne Brady's grandmother's cake. So it's a Southern recipe that has a little bit of an island twist. Really wonderful. Red velvet cake with the cream cheese frosting. Then we have a coconut almond cake. Isn't it dramatic and pretty?
Beautiful.
And it makes a beautiful display as well with the toasted coconut all over it. And it's delicious. And then we have a really notable pecan pie. And I think every Christmas dinner needs a pecan pie at the end.
I think every dinner needs
I agree with you, Terry. I agree. But this one was Lady Bird Johnson's family's recipe, and it was served at the White House.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it makes it really special.
Now, you have done some takeaways for guests, too. I always think that's kind of fun. When people come for a very festive evening in your home, talk about what you've done there. So creative, so cute.
Thank you. Well, we just took some big clear vases and filled them with various peppermint candies. And then we took Chinese food takeout containers. You could do white, you could do clear. We added a darling little label on there, which you can download, and stuck it on a tray. It's a clear tray. This is one of those pieces that I think every hostess needs to have. All I did was take peppermint striped wrapping paper, and I cut it to the shape of the tray and put it inside.
Very clever.
Then for New Year's Eve, you could maybe put gold or silver paper in. For 4th of July, you could do red, white, and blue. You use it all year long.
All year long.
And it's pretty on a coffee table or something, too.
I want to show these because I had so much fun over the weekend looking at this.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of Southern Living magazine. I don't know how many of you enjoy this, but it's filled with wonderful recipes all the time. I mean, every month there's something special. I get it just because the cover's so much fun.
The covers are delicious looking, aren't they?
They really are. They really are. But the cookbook is fabulous. I mean, this is so lovely. And Southerners just know how to entertain, don't you think?
I think so. I do. I think so.
This is lovely and a great gift at the holiday for people and
it's
available.
just filled with beautiful stories, too, which I love. I think it's nice to know the story when you're making a new recipe.
Agree.
Can I show you how to make some of these things?
You promised the centerpiece.
Yes.
Let's do that.
Okay. So you want 2 containers, one a little bit larger than the other. And you use floral foam or oasis, soak it in water for a little while, and then you stick the roses in a paved shape.
And that's in the interior container.
That's on the interior container.
Okay.
Then you're going to just fill the outside with peppermint. So these are really easy to stick into this moist floral foam. You just stick them in there real close to one another.
That is
until
so
it's full.
cute.
Isn't that pretty?
It really is.
Again, I love the height, that it's low. And then for the peppermint easels, you just take 3 little peppermints, and I use these wonderful dots that are really used for mounting a photograph or something. You just get them at the craft store. They're actually great for so many different crafts. And you just kind of stick them together here. We've already got some on here to help us out to move a little faster.
So you're just making a little triangle out of them, and they become the feet.
That's right. And then you've got a little easel here.
Can we see that? Let me get this out of the way so people can see clearly what you're doing. That is so clever.
We've got the wrong angle here on this one.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to fiddle
it's
with
swinging
them.
Around the side.
Yeah,
yes, but that is really a cute idea.
Thank you. And I think it's the little touches like that set a table apart, right? It elevates the conversation. People can feel that you've put effort and love into setting the table for them.
And you can think through who's sitting next to
That's
who.
True, too. That's true, and maybe really important around the holidays.
Very important. Well, I want to reiterate that you can find so many wonderful decorating and cooking ideas on the pages of Southern Living magazine, which you can get on a regular basis sent to you, but from the new book also called Southern Living's No Taste Like Home. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. It's great to have you back.
Thank you. Thanks
Merry
for having
Christmas
me,
to you, and thank you
too.
for giving us so many wonderful ideas on how we can make our holiday beautiful and special.
Thank
Great
you.
to have you with us. Pat?
Oh, that looks nice, but ladies spend so much time making things beautiful. We have to appreciate all that work, but it's beautiful, and the guests should really love it. Well, up next, we'll check our inbox for your email. Hope says, I've heard people say that we shouldn't put Christmas trees up because the Bible speaks against them. So what's your take? Well, we'll bring it on with that question and many more coming up.
Christmas. The wonderful time of year when we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, the light of the world. 700 Club partners, this is the perfect time to make your celebration complete by helping people who are in desperate need. Your special donation to CBN will provide gifts like food and warm clothing, life-giving water wells, and even livestock that will help support families all year long. Look for your special Light of the World prayer ornaments in the mail. Return one with your prayer request, then hang one ornament on your tree as a reminder of God's gift and our prayers for you. Share the light of God's love this season because so many others need your help, and send in your prayer requests so that we can pray for you. You'll be a blessing, and you'll be blessed as well.
Turning 65 is a milestone, but no doubt you have been buried by Medicare supplement offers. All 150 Medicare supplement companies will overflow your mailbox prior to turning 65, most likely confusing you and leaving you wondering where to turn. Good news, there is a toll-free hotline that can help cut through the confusion. 1-800-MEDIGAP, the trusted toll-free hotline. 1-800-MEDIGAP can help make sense of all the options offered, taking the guesswork and frustration out of the equation. 1-800-MEDIGAP, 1-800-633-4427.
With Basic Talk home phone service, you can make unlimited, crystal clear domestic calls for just $9.99 a month, every month. But if you don't believe me, listen to this trustworthy grandfather. Yep. Basic Talk, just $9.99 a month. Call, click, or go to Walmart today.
Well, let's take time to answer some of the email questions that you've sent in. Pat, this first one is from Hope, who says, I have heard people say that we shouldn't put Christmas trees up because the Bible speaks against it. In Jeremiah 10, God tells us not to be like the Gentiles who, quote, cut a tree from the forest and decorate it with silver and gold, etc. So what's your take?
Well, the tree from the forest and decorated it was made into an idol. They carved a little image and they worshipped it. That's what they were talking about. I don't worship my Christmas tree. As a matter of fact, I have an artificial one. So it's got some pretty lights.
Yeah.
I think you can get carried away with things like that. You know, we pick up all that stuff from the Germanic Teutonic tribes who, well, they just wanted some greenery and mistletoe and all that stuff. Some of them attributed magical things to woods and so forth, but as far as I'm concerned, the Christmas trees, they got light. We got one right up here, right behind me. It's pretty. It's got a lot of balls on it. Give me a close-up.
It's really a symbol of
Can you get close to that camera? I know you can do it. There you go. God bless you.
It's really a symbol of anticipating.
Well,
right?
It's a symbol of pretty, and pretty's nice. I mean, they're up there pretty. I mean, you say, okay, we're having a jolly time, and these are pretty. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is April, who says, I've heard that an asteroid is going to pass by Earth in 2029. Should I be concerned? Is the government doing anything to stop it?
It's going to be close to 19,000 miles from Earth on Friday the 13th of 2029.
Really?
Friday the 13th. And it is named Apophis, which is... according to Forbes, if it hit the Earth, it would cause an explosion equivalent to 1,480 megatons of TNT, 30 times larger than the biggest hydrogen bomb ever detonated. It comes from a Greek name that means the uncreator, the God who represents darkness. But some people say there's a Stargate SG-1, and the discoverers like that sci-fi programs, they named it after that.
So what's the likelihood that it would strike Earth?
NASA says hardly any. But I mean, Terry, the thing is, we have more rocks running around in space that people don't know anything about. I wrote a book on the end of the age that mine was 1 kilometer, which is 0.6 of a mile. If one that was a mile, 2-3 miles hit, it would devastate. It would be what they call an extinctor. It would take out all of Earth. We have one out in the Chesapeake Bay. One asteroid caused that whole bay. There was one down in Merida, Mexico, in that area that was huge. They think that's what killed the dinosaurs. It was 3 miles across, and that's all it took. I mean, those things are enormous. When they hit, it's unbelievable. So is NASA doing something? They're playing at it, but they're not really serious. They're trying to get something, but it may be too late.
Well, they're tracking it. I mean, I'm sure
the little teenies you can't track. They can't even see them till all of a sudden, ooh, what's that? Bang, it hits.
It's here.
That one in Russia just recently. But it doesn't take much of one. So I think if you read the Bible, ladies and gentlemen, when it all happens, bad things that Jesus talked about, the only thing that'll fulfill those prophecies is an asteroid. There isn't anything else will do it. It's terrible to even contemplate, but it's going to be an awful disaster.
This is from Samantha, who says, does God have a name? Where is it found in the Bible?
Oh, it's found over and over again. If you read the Bible, look at the Old Testament, and you'll find capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. His name isn't Lord, but that's a translation of Yahweh. His name is He who causes everything to be. That's his name. And we took Yahweh and put in the vowels of Elohim, anyhow, it becomes Jehovah. And and then when you see that, they translated Lord. So he said, well, the Lord, is my shepherd. So Yahweh, his name is Yahweh. It's not Allah, it's Yahweh. That's his name. He who causes everything to be. Okay, it's in there over and over and over again in the Hebrew.
This is Dolores, who says, I pay my tithes every Sunday, but because I have so many bills, I don't have anything to give except $1 or $2. Is this the reason why my finances are so bad? I want to be at a place where I'll be able to give in a big way. What am I not doing right?
I'm going to answer that question. I can't possibly. I go over your finance with you. I don't know whether you're spending too much. The whole key is to have a budget, to know what goes out and what comes in, and to have more coming in than goes out, even if it's a little bit. And then you begin to build on that. So I don't know what your total finances are, but I think giving is an important one. And the Bible says, well, a man robbed God. Have I robbed you? You robbed me with tithes and offerings. So I think that we need to say, all right, 10% belongs to the Lord. Set that aside and say, God, he said, I'll open the windows of heaven and show you such a blessing you can't receive it. All right.
Okay, this is Carol, who says, I have been a Catholic for 24 years, but I still feel uncomfortable confessing my sins to a priest. I ask God's forgiveness every day and ask him to help me become a better person. Shouldn't that be enough?
Well, if you feel it is, it probably is. But I tell you, one of the highlights, in my opinion, of the Catholic system is the whole idea of confession, where you can talk to a priest, but he's behind a veil there, you can't see him, and share what's on your heart. I committed adultery. I had an abortion. I lied to my parents. I was disobedient. I swore. I got drunk. Whatever you did. And you unburden yourself. And he says, I don't know, do 10 Hail Marys or whatever they tell you. But confessing it to the Lord is good enough if that's what is in your heart. But you need to confess it.
Yeah, Scripture does say to confess our sins one to another. So,
yeah, but I think sitting around with a bunch of gossips and telling them everything you do would be a little hard.
Yes.
But the priest is supposed to keep his mouth shut. The confessional is supposed to be inviolate, and hopefully they will be. All right.
Well, that's all the time we have for today for your questions, but we thank you. We do love getting them from you. Well, the grandfather in our next story was doing his best to provide for his grandchildren after they were both abandoned by their parents. He became the parents. Still, the family often went hungry until a few gifts gave them all a whole new life.
10-year-old Sakni has been watching her grandfather cut hair for as long as she can remember.
Grandpa does a good job cutting hair. He cuts my hair too.
After her parents abandoned her, Sakni and her little brother came to live with their grandparents. Grandpa has been struggling to provide for them ever since.
I have an old mirror, an old pair of scissors that are difficult to use, and an old chair I built myself. It's uncomfortable for my customers. I cut their hair under the trees, and when it rains, I can't work.
Many days, they all go hungry.
I often wonder why our neighbors have food and we don't have any. Sometimes they give Grandma some food so my brother and I can eat. I pray every day that God will help our family.
Then one day, Sakni was invited to a free lunch program sponsored by CBN's Orphans Promise. There, we provide the kids with hot, nutritious meals. And we also paid for uniforms, fees, and supplies so Sakni can go to school. Finally, we built Grandpa Horm a barber shop attached to his home. We gave him a chair, a mirror, and a new set of barber's tools.
Now I have a lot of customers. It makes me happy to see them smile after I give them a nice haircut. Because of the barber shop from CBN, I can earn enough to support my family.
Thank you, CBN. I'm really happy that God answered my prayers. Now we have enough to eat.
Thank you, CBN partners, indeed. You know, in Orphans Promise, we say that we like to take children from at-risk to thriving. In this instance, you did that for the entire family, and we just want to say thank you. There are so many wonderful families like this all around the world who live in poverty, and they have a desire to see their lives changed, a desire to live differently, to provide for their families. They just don't have the means to do it. And yet, when we can come in with a micro-enterprise opportunity like this, it changes everything for the long haul. So joining the 700 Club makes you a part of that and so much more that's going on around the world. We want you to join with us. It's 65 cents a day, $20 a month, and that makes you a 700 Club member. How do you join? Well, you go to your phone, call that number, 1-800-759-0700. Just say, I want to join the 700 Club. When you do, you'll have the privilege of knowing you're touching other lives, and we want to send you as our way of saying thank you. Pat's latest teaching, How Shall We Now Live? I think you're going to be really, really blessed by this. The people who've listened to it have said it's been a blessing, not just to them, but they've played it for their families and shared it with friends as well. So when you call and join the 700 Club, we send this out to you right away. We want you to have it. And by the way, it's time for year-end giving. So a wonderful opportunity for people to do that, Pat, and to make a difference.
Gifts of stock. You know, the stock market has been pretty good this year, and people, some of their stock holdings have gone up right dramatically. And if you give stock, you don't pay any capital gains tax on it, and you can deduct the entire amount up to 50%, depending on the rules of the IRS. So you can call 1-800. It's 333-2373. 333-2373. Or you can go to email plangiving@cbn.org, and it'll be there to help you. Well, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate the people from Southern Living and others who've been on with us today. And we leave you with today's Power Minute, found in the book of Proverbs, chapter 10. The blessings of the Lord makes one rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. The blessing of the Lord. Well, we'll have Joel Osteen on tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. See you then. Bye-bye.
Tuesday, he's known as the Happy Pastor. Joel Osteen breaks out a page from his new bestseller. Plus, from a home on the prairie in South Dakota to the House of Reps in Washington, D.C.
We had our family operation almost destroyed because of bad tax policy.
David Brody goes on the farm with Tea Party star Kristi Noem.
Maybe my biggest job was going to be to minister to individuals.
On the 700 Club.
It was a challenge to get Ingen to drink any milk. He cried all the time. When I saw him suffering and thought about how difficult his life would be with this cleft lip, it broke my heart, and I cried too.
We once again turned to the Lord.
I knew he cared even more for my baby than I did. Every time I see Ingen smile, I will think of you and how you were willing to share your love with a poor family like mine.
These are the things you make possible when you partner with CBN. Thousands of people around the world begin new lives because you cared enough to give. To those of you who recently pledged to join the 700 Club, thank you. Your help will make a tremendous difference in so many lives. Please be sure to watch for this mailing and remember to send in your pledge, because when we all come together to help, miracles happen.